What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the JDW Sports Talk Show, where we fans welcome. We're officially here, ready to rock and roll for our NFL Week 8 picks, predictions, score predictions, giving you my in-depth analysis and my thoughts on every single matchup. So if you'd like to follow along in the comment section below, feel free to do so. I love the interaction. The engagement is great. It makes it a lot of fun. But hey, it's a great place to be, great community. We do this every single week. We do power rankings, predictions, all that every single week. So make sure you like, subscribe, stick around. It's a great place to be. Put that post notification bell on, or follow if you're on Rumble. Subscribe, if you're on YouTube. You know the drill. So join the Discord as well. The Discord is a great platform. A lot of our community sticks around the Discord. A lot of great people in there. A lot of great debates. Just a phenomenal place to be. So I don't want to waste too much more of your time. Let's get right into the video. So first up, the first matchup we have is the Dallas Cowboys and the Los Angeles Rams. So I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys 24-20, as you see on the screen here. I think the Dallas Cowboys are a little bit better of a football team, although I do think both football teams are, they're kind of similar in their own respects. I think the Cowboys have a better defense, have a much better pass rush, and, that's kind of the difference. Is a quarterback better? Probably not. I would take Matthew Stafford over Dak Prescott. The Rams, both of them have some pretty good weapons. But if you look at the matchup, the Rams and the Cowboys, they're both, I don't think either of us will look at the Rams or the Cowboys and say, hey, one of these teams are great. No, I think you're going to look at both of these teams and be like, yeah, they're pretty good football teams. The Rams have been much better than I thought, and a lot of people thought they would be. The Cowboys, every single year people hype them up, and I fell victim of that this year. I thought they were a very good football team. Trayvon Diggs went down. That definitely doesn't help, but that's not all the reason. It's a part of the game. Injuries are a part of the game. Next man up. The Bills were without Tre'Davious White for a while last year, so there's no excuses. It's next man up. They have Stephon Gilmore. They have a few other guys that can step up, but it is what it is. So, but I do think the Cowboys will win this one. Both quarterbacks are mistake prone, but you can kind of run in the Rams a little bit, and Tony Pollard is going to give the Rams a bit of some issues. Dak Prescott has some good weapons, and that's going to be more than enough. I think both quarterbacks are mistake prone. Both of them are going to throw a lot of interceptions, or they're very aggressive. So this could be a sloppy game in terms of turnovers. But we'll see. I am taking the Dallas Cowboys. It could be a very close game, but I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys by 4, 24-20. I think the Cowboys will be able to run the ball better. It's going to be tough. I think the Cowboys will be able to make that extra play on offense, but the Rams have been much better than we think, and I think a lot of people are looking into this game and thinking that the Cowboys are going to win by 10 plus points. I think I think this is going to be a lot closer game than a lot of people anticipate and expect it to be. But, hey, maybe I'll be wrong. I don't see it. I think this is going to be a really close game. I think it's going to come down the wire. The Rams are a little more complete version of the Chargers, who the Cowboys played right before the bye week. But, the Cowboys are coming off the bye. So maybe that's why people are picking them by 10 plus. You're having a whole week to prepare and such. But, nah, I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys 24-20. They're a little more talented. They have a few better pieces in place. They're going to get more pass rush. And I think that's kind of the difference in this game. If you look at the trenches and the offensive line, the Cowboys are going to get a lot more pressure on Matthew Stafford, and it makes it very difficult for the Rams to get any offense going consistently. So that's why I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys over the Los Angeles Rams in the first matchup. Next up, we have the Minnesota Vikings traveling to Green Bay. First time these two face off, and I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to win this one 27-20. I think it's going to be a pretty close game. This could be one of those games where Jordan Love actually has an all-right game, but Jordan Love is one of those quarterbacks. I don't really care what defense he plays. He's always going to make bad decisions. He doesn't read the field well. Jordan Love just isn't that great of a quarterback. If you watch some film, it's very easy to prepare for this Packers offense because they really want to run the ball, because Jordan Love isn't really consistent. Can't really rely on Jordan Love. Jordan Love won't win you any football games. He's probably a below average backup. I'm not a fan of Jordan Love, and it doesn't really seem like it matters what defense he plays. He's always going to struggle. I would not be shocked if the Packers score less than 20, but it's a divisional game. It's going to be closer. These teams know each other really well. But, I think the Minnesota Vikings, their offense, their defense has gotten better throughout the season. They just did a very good job, against the San Francisco 49ers. They beat them on Monday night. So, that's another thing, too. They're coming off of Monday Night Football. They're going to be a little tired. But I still think the Minnesota Vikings, they have a much better offense. Offense is going to be able to make many more plays. Even though that Packers defense is pretty good, that Minnesota Vikings offensive line is really getting going. And, I think that's the main reason why the Niners lost to the Vikings, because the Vikings offensive line was able to level off that pass rush. And the Packers usually struggle against the run game, and the Vikings don't have a very potent run game. They're not really great at running the football, but Kirk Cousins will do more than enough. And for how well the offensive line playing is playing. You do have Cam Akers. I did like Cam Akers. I believe he's out of Florida State. You know, he played with the Rams for a couple of years there. He was traded, obviously, but I do think Cam Akers in this run game will be able to get, they'll be able to get it going because, because of the way that offensive line is playing like one of the best of football, really, honestly. It's really short up since the beginning of the season, and Kirk Cousins has played phenomenal. He's, an MVP candidate in my eyes. He's played, he's played some really good football. So Kirk Cousins 27-20 over the Green Bay Packers, having them win the NFC North matchup. Like I said, the past couple weeks, I think the Vikings and the Lions are the two that are in front. But hey, the Vikings have a pretty favorable schedule coming up, and then down the stretch of the season. So I can see the Vikings being one of those teams that merge through the weeds. All right, next up we have the Tennessee Titans and the Atlanta Falcons. So the Tennessee Titans, they're going to be starting Will Levis this year. I'm pretty sure I heard, and Will Levis. I made the big mistake of taking the eye candy, watching film on him. I really learned from East Coast Gridiron Dante. They really know their stuff over there with college football. I kind of learned how to watch tape from them a little bit. They have a great show over there. I'll leave the link in the description. Go check them out if you have not already. But the Tennessee Titans taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Now, the Titans are at home. That's something worthy of note here because the Titans tend to play much better at home than they do away. It's just the way the Titans are. Some teams are like that. The Falcons are kind of they're kind of the same way. They play a lot better at home than they do away. So, that right there is just saying, the Titans are probably going to win. And, home field advantage does, sometimes matter, sometimes play a factor. For the Titans and the Falcons, it seems like it does. But I'm not going to take that into consideration too much when I'm looking at matchups. I don't really like to do that. I like to really look at the matchups, what's going on. Maybe, sometimes in a game that's hard to predict, you're going to pick the home team, especially when they play better at home. But I'm going to say this. I'm going to take Desmond Ridder over Will Levis this weekend. I think he's going to do much better. The Titans are really good at stopping the run game, but a couple weeks ago the Colts ran really well on them. They're playing against a couple of really talented backs here again, and Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, so that run defense could have a tough day. But I do really like that run defense, and the Falcons' offense line is inconsistent. I'm not a fan of their tackles, but I think the interior of the offense line is much better. Ultimately, I'm going to trust that Falcons defense more than that Titans defense, and they both quarterbacks aren't really that impressive. Neither quarterbacks neither of them are starting quarterbacks in the NFL. I really don't think so. But I'm taking the Atlanta Falcons 23-17 because I think that defense is gonna, it's gonna do its job. But they also have a few more weapons on offense. Titans they have Hopkins, they have Treylon Burks, who hasn't really been it. The offensive line isn't very good. Derrick Henry just isn't Derrick Henry because it doesn't really have anywhere to run. And the defense side of things, he just traded Kevin Byard. That could be a factor. I'm taking the Atlanta Falcons. They definitely have some more weapons. You look at Desmond Ridder. You look at, Desmond Ridder can run on the ground, and I like Desmond Ridder in terms of as an athlete and running the football. But I don't think he's a great quarterback. And I think we're going to see that versus the Titans this weekend. But ultimately, I'm taking the Atlanta Falcons. Drake London, Kyle Pitts. They have a couple more weapons. They can run the ball better. It's kind of like, they're very similar teams, and I think the Falcons can do it much better. They have better weapons. They're going to run the ball better. They have more talent overall in that room. Although Tyjae Spears has looked really good when he has touched the football, but I'm taking the Atlanta Falcons 23-17. Even though it's in Tennessee, it's not a far ride. It's not a far you're not traveling very far, but I'm still taking the Atlanta Falcons 23-17 over the Tennessee Titans. Next up, I have the Indianapolis Colts over the New Orleans Saints. Now, I think this is one of the toughest. I think this is by far the toughest game to pick this weekend. So the Saints, talent-wise, they are better than the Indianapolis Colts. They are absolutely better talent-wise, but they haven't played like that. The Colts have kind of had some consistency this year, not in terms of, that defense hasn't played well, and, the Saints had, kind of had that breakout game offensively last weekend versus the Jaguars, and that Jaguars defense is good. It's a good Jaguars defense. It is inconsistent, as, the Saints offense is, as we saw in that game. That was a perfect example of both teams, how they're, they're inconsistent on both sides of the football, but, the Saints are the better football team. They have more talent, but they have not been as consistent. And the Colts have scored at least 20 points in every game they play so far, and they are the only team to do so. Who would have thought? Having Gardner Minshew, a quarterback, that's very young, but they're getting Jonathan Taylor back. This running back duo is going to have a day, even though that Saints run defense has been pretty good this year so far. I think, they're playing a really tough offensive line. The Colts offensive line has been very good. And, talking about the Saints offensive line, their offensive line has not been the normal offensive line that, you usually see out of the Saints. But, they do have Alvin Kamara and some really good pieces in that, in that backfield. This is going to be a really tough game, really. Is Minshew going to be able to take care of the ball? This is really, a toss-up. It's a coin flip. I can't tell you. I have no clue who's going to win this football game. But I am taking the Indianapolis Colts. I'm taking the edge because I do think the coaching is better. Shane Steichen has done a phenomenal job, and not many teams play the type of offense they do. A lot of RPOs and stuff like that. So that can be tough for the Saints to kind of prepare for it, as the Browns had a really difficult time, preparing for and then ultimately playing against it. Now, Minshew, he did throw 4 interceptions last week, and somehow they still scored almost 40 points, which is beyond me. But, Derek Carr, is that, did they break out last game? Are they going to continue to do it this week? Like I said, I like the Saints defense a little more, and their offense has the potential to be better, but, the Saints just have not played like that. They have not been able to consistently score for 20. Now, I can absolutely see the Saints going into this game and continuing that. This could be that full breakout game for that offense, like we saw, in the second half versus the Jaguars in the Thursday night football game. They have a little extra rest. So, I'm taking the better coaching in this game. Even though I do think the Saints are, they do have more talent, but I'm taking the better coaching because it seems Shane Steichen has his team player at a much higher level than what they're really, than what they look like on paper. So I'm going to take the Indianapolis Colts 21-20, but it's a very close football team. Very close football game. It's a toss-up. And, you have no Grover Stewart, which can be a big loss in this game. You have Alvin Kamara on the other side, a decent Saints offense line. But, the Colts defense line has been impressive for what, it's been in years past. It's been more consistent. But I'm still going to take, the Indianapolis Colts 21-20 because the coaching has been better. I think they've been more consistent. Defensive-wise, they have not been great. And I think the Saints are not going to have Chris Olave for this game. Okay, so I did just double check to see if he is playing, and it looks like he will be playing this weekend. Dennis Allen, their head coach, has talked to them, has talked to him, and it seems like he understands he made a mistake. I'm not really going to dive into that, into the legal part of all that, but I'm just kind of stating, I'm just a messenger. Remember, don't shoot the messenger. But Chris Olave, it seems like he will play, so that's definitely a big plus for the Saints. But I'm still taking the Colts 21-20, but really, this is a really difficult game to predict. This is a toss-up. It's a coin flip. I wouldn't touch any betting on this game, any lines. I wouldn't touch anything. So I'm taking the Indianapolis Colts 21-20 over the New Orleans Saints. Next up, you have the Miami Dolphins and the New England Patriots. So, the Dolphins a little mad taking that loss versus the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday Night Football. Didn't look too good. The refs weren't too great, but at the end of the day, you still didn't perform great. You still struggle. Really only put up 10 points offensively. But now, they're going home. They're playing the New England Patriots, a team that has struggled. Not a very good football team. The Dolphins are by far and away the better football team. Very good offensively. They should not have too much of an issue. So I do have the Dolphins putting up 34-23 over the New England Patriots. Now, the Patriots did look really good last week, but you can't really base too much off of one game. If we look at their resume, they have not looked very good. And the Dolphins have beat up on teams like this that aren't too good. And the Dolphins will beat up on bad football teams. And that they will do this weekend against the New England Patriots. They're not going to be able to keep up with the Dolphins offense. Although, if the defense can play the way it did last week and that offense can get something going like it did last week, and, let's say they could run that football, they could really keep the Dolphins offense off the field. I don't think they're going to be able to do it too much. The offense still isn't going to be able to make that extra play that the Dolphins could. So I'm taking the Dolphins 34-23 over the New England Patriots. Next up, Pittsburgh Steelers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So the Jaguars, we've seen them be very inconsistent, and this could be a game that they could lose. I do believe they are favored by 2.5. You would think that line would be a little bigger, but maybe, the Jaguars are due for a loss. They've been winning, and, the Pittsburgh Steelers are at home. They're a sneaky football team. They could win a game. They could surprise you, and, I could very well see them maybe doing it this weekend versus the Jaguars. But, hey, we will see. But I'm taking the Pittsburgh Steelers 20-27. That doesn't make any sense. I'm taking the Jacksonville Jaguars 27-20. I think they're really going to be able to get that run game going. think they're really going to be able to open some things up in the passing game. Kenny Pickett not really going to be able to do much against the Jaguars. A lot of people are going to look at that second half, what happened with the Jaguars defense. Now, the Jaguars defense is still a very good defense. It's just that it's very inconsistent, and that's kind of the issue with the Jaguars. They are an inconsistent football team on offense and defense. What kind of Trevor Lawrence are you going to get from quarter to quarter? What kind of defense or, offense as a whole? It's a very confusing football team, but they have all the talent in the world, and there's no reason why they cannot continue to win. And I think they should be the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Steelers have been kind of quiet. They've been sneaky. Now, they're not really a great football team. I can see them winning this football game and then being one of those teams that kind of dies down as the season goes on. They start 5-2. I don't really see them continuing that throughout the season. They're really relying on their defense to score some points, and the Jaguars don't have a great offense line. It's not great, but Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence like to get the ball out quick, which will help with poor offensive line play. It'll help against that strong Steelers front. We will see, though. They don't have guys that really get separation. Deontay Johnson is really good at separating, but his hands are inconsistent. And then you have George Pickens, who, he's kind of your contested guy. He's kind of your contested catch kind of guy. Throw some, Kenny Pickett will probably throw 2 to 3 fades from him, or back shoulder. They throw it to him quite often, and now you're going to have another bucket in Deontay Johnson as you had last week. But I'm taking the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're better. They are the better football team, but I guess the Jaguars are due, so I can see the Steelers maybe pulling off an upset here and continuing to 5-2 and continuing a nice story. But that story won't last. It won't continue to win you football games. Taking the Jacksonville Jaguars 27-20. Next matchup is the Washington Commanders are at home versus the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Commanders always play the Eagles really tough, but I think the Eagles are just, they're just flat out the better football team. They have a better defense. They're going to get after Sam Howell. Although they do have some really good some weapons, but the Eagles did pick up Kevin Byard. I love Kevin Byard. I think he's one of the better safeties in the game. He's definitely a little older, but he's definitely one of the better playmaking safeties in the league. He's going to get some turnovers. He's a good safety. That's kind of what the Eagles needed, but how is that really going to fix that passing defense, because the corners have been inconsistent, and you do have injuries around the team, but Kevin Byard, it is a really good pickup, and it can really help this Eagles defense, and I think it will this weekend versus Sam Howell and that Washington offense. I don't think Sam Howell is a bad quarterback whatsoever, but is he really going to be able to do much versus an Eagles front, with the offense line that he has? He does have some really good weapons. I will say Jahan Dotson has been underwhelming this year, but Curtis Samuel has looked pretty good. Terry McLaurin, you do have weapons all over the offense. Brian Robinson is due for a good game, but is he really going to do it versus one of the best fronts in football, if not the best? I don't know. I'm taking the Eagles 27-23. I'm not going to overthink this one too much. It's very easy to overthink, especially for how much success the Commanders have had against the Eagles. But just look at the matchup, just look at who's better, and that's why I have the score closer than a lot of people may have it, just because it's in Washington and the Commanders tend to play the Eagles really well. So I'm still taking the Philadelphia Eagles 27-23. That Jalen Hurts in that offense should not have too much of an issue versus that defense, and the offense will probably struggle. I can still maybe see 23 points. That defense allowing some big plays here and there against some really good weapons and a decent quarterback in Sam Howell. Next up, we have the Houston Texans and the Carolina Panthers. So the Texans they're coming off the bye. So really, yeah, both football teams coming off a bye here, and I'm going to take the Houston Texans. I think that it's a bad matchup for the Panthers, and the Texans are just flat out a better football team. But both are coming off a bye, so both are fresh. And Frank Reich usually has his team playing much better after a bye, but overall the team is not better than the Texans. The Texans just have a better football team, better offensive line, better defensive line. They do everything almost better than the Panthers. Maybe the Panthers can get a little pressure on CJ Stroud, but so far this season that has not been, that has not influenced how CJ Stroud has played. CJ Stroud has been electric. He's been awesome. He's been great, and he will probably continue to do so versus the Carolina Panthers. And I will say, I am impressed with Bryce Young for state. I was one of those people. I like size. I don't like my quarterbacks, players in general being smaller, because usually that is that's an indicator for a player not being healthy, or they might not be able to stay healthy, and durability is kind of a question mark, but he hasn't really been injured too much. I believe he was out one game, but kind of looking at Anthony Richardson, who no one really had any doubts of about that. It's very interesting. But Bryce Young, he's he has Adam Thielen, and that's about it. And I don't really like Frank Reich that much. I heard that he turned the play calling over to the offense coordinator. I don't remember who the offense coordinator is, but I know I've seen something somewhere that Frank Reich has turned the play calling over to him, and it is what it is. It's still not going to be enough. The Texans have a playmaking defense, and other than Adam Thielen, who's going to step up? I do like Chuba Hubbard, and I think they will maybe be able to get the run game going a little bit, but that is probably about it. They're not going to be able to keep up with the Texans' offense. It's been very good. C.J. Stroud has been great. He's probably going to, he's been electric. He will continue to be electric. He's got some really good weapons. Nico Collins, Tank Dell. He's got weapons all over that field. And, the Panthers' defense has not been very good. The Panthers, it's all over a mess. They're the worst team in football. Do they get their first win? Are they kind of due? Yeah, but it's not going to happen versus the Texans. The Texans are a good football team all around. They have some good pieces, and it's not really Bryce Young's fault. That's another thing. It's pretty fun to look at. C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young, they're both pick number 1 and 2, but C.J. Stroud has a much better situation, much better situation. It's not even close. It's not even debatable. So I'm taking the Houston Texans 28-24 over the Carolina Panthers and Bryce Young, I should add. All right, next up, this is a pretty good matchup. This is a tough matchup, really tough matchup to predict, in my opinion. I can go back and forth in this game forever. This is another really tough one, and a lot of people are going to look at the matchup. I think a lot of people are going to look at, the Niners are a much better football team, and this and that, and Joe Burrow and the Bengals have not been that good. But the Bengals are coming off a bye, and the Niners are coming off of a Monday Night Football game. I think that's a little unfair. I think that's a little kind of ridiculous, but. It is what it is. Next game, you got to continue to fight. And so the Niners playing the Bengals, the Niners are a much better football team. They are. But they're going to be fatigued from Monday Night Football. They're a little banged up. They have a lot of players out. And the kind of defense that the Niners play is a lot of man defense. And you're playing Joe Burrow. You're playing Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, even Charlie Jones I'd throw in there because he is very good. You're playing Irv Smith. I believe they have Irv Smith. The Bengals have a slew of weapons, and they like to run the ball with Joe Mixon, although they do like to throw it much more when you have 3 receivers that are capable of being number 1 receivers. I don't blame them for wanting to throw the ball more. And you have Joe Burrow, the second best quarterback in the league, if not the best. I think the way the Niners play defense, a lot of man coverage, I think that's going to be a difference in this one. But I could see the Niners winning by maybe 7 or more. But the other difference is the Niners, they're coming off of a Thursday Night Football game. They're banged up. They're beat up. The Bengals are coming off of a bye week. You've had a whole week, a whole 2 weeks to prepare for the Niners. The Bengals should have no issue. They should have no issue. Well, I mean, I'm not saying that in a way that the Niners are bad. I think the Niners are overall the better football team, but the Bengals, I think they just match up in certain areas better than the Niners do, especially with some injuries that they're injured. They're coming off on a short week playing a very fresh Bengals team. Those receivers are fresh, and you like to play a lot of man coverage, so that that really hurts. It's gonna make it a lot more difficult. So I'm really taking the Cincinnati Bengals 27-24 in the upset over the San Francisco 49ers. And, they're on the 2-game losing streak and such, but, it's, and they're kind of due for a win, but, just kind of the way the schedule falls, it's very unfavorable. I think in the way they play defense, like I said, with man coverage and all the other reasons I listed, I think the Cincinnati Bengals will come out on top on that one. All right. Next up, Seattle Seahawks and the Cleveland Browns. So, this may be a variable prediction, but I can see the Seattle Seahawks kicking all field goals at 18 points. I could legitimately see it. I know it's kind of a wild prediction, but the Seahawks are going to move the ball well. I think they're going to move the ball all day long. And I'm not talking, saying that the Browns defense is bad. No, they just had a tough week versus the Colts. I think they kind of overlooked the Colts and Shane Steichen. I think they kind of overlooked them. I think that defense is going to bounce back in the red zone. The Seahawks have been moving the football all year long. They really struggle in the red zone. So if they're really, going to struggle in the red zone, playing against one of the better defenses in the NFL, you could run on this Browns defense. You could run on this Browns defense, as the Colts did a pretty good job on. You could run on them. So I think the Seahawks are going to move the ball all day long. Now, is it really, it's kind of like a piping hot take. It's really hot that they score 18 points just off of field goals, but the Seahawks are kind of becoming more of a defensive team. I'm kind of going all over the place here, but the Seahawks, the offense is going to, I think they're going to go up and down the field, but their red zone offense is horrible. So that's kind of why I have them scoring 18. And now their defense, is going to play really well. Their defense is awesome. And it's only going to continue to get better. And you're playing P.J. Walker. You're playing you kind of argue P.J. Walker is 2-0. I can't really see P.J. Walker going 3-0. You're playing a really good Seahawks defense, much more experienced, much better than, the Colts defense. Miles ahead better. They have a lot more experience. They're just better all around, in my opinion. So I'm taking the Seahawks 18-13. No matter of fact, they have P.J. Walker playing. I think the Seahawks will kind of march up and down the field, and you're not playing Nick Chubb either, so that's that definitely helps. But I'm taking the Seahawks 18-13 over the Cleveland Browns. Next up, on the 11th matchup of the weekend, I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs 27-13 over the Denver Broncos. Now, this is a matchup I would not be shocked one bit if the Chiefs scored 35+. They kind of went into the Broncos game into the first matchup, trying to be all cute and trying to, be all fancy and stuff. And, they only scored 19 points. And, it kind of threw them off for them. They're at home. They are going to come into this game being mad and be like, hey, we're going to put up an offensive performance and show them who we really are. And I think the Chiefs are going to do that this weekend. They're just the better football team. They have, their defense is elite, and then on the other side of things, you have a really good offense. Of course, you got Patrick Mahomes. It's always going to be a top 10. It's always going to be a great offense. Travis Kelce went off last game, and Travis Kelce is probably going to go off this game again. I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs 27-13 over the Denver Broncos. I don't have too much faith in that Denver Broncos offense. I don't know if they score 13. That's how good this Chiefs defense is. It is a mile high, and the Chiefs are traveling to Denver, but it's not going to be enough to help the Broncos propel them to win over the Chiefs. Now, like I said, I would not be shocked if the Chiefs score over 35. I'm just sticking with 27-13 currently for the Chiefs over the Denver Broncos. All right, up next, you have the Arizona Cardinals and the Baltimore Ravens. So I think a lot of people are looking at this game and they're really getting a little excited. I think they're being a little generous for the Ravens. Now, I do think the Ravens are the much better football team. So you kind of ask yourself why you think people are kind of calling the game the way they think the way they think it will go. Well, I think this is going to be a much closer game than a lot of people think. The Cardinals play tough on defense. They play tough, and the Ravens have been one of those teams. And I have said it perfectly over the past couple of weeks. They can beat anyone, but they can lose to anyone. But I don't think the Cardinals are going to have Kyler Murray either. Kyler Murray, he's a much better football player than Joshua Dobbs. Is he really great as a quarterback? I'm not sure. Probably not. But the Cardinals in general, really this game shouldn't be close. The Ravens are a much better football team. But they're coming off that big win against Detroit. It's a trap game. You're playing, a Cardinals team that plays hard. They're not a great football team. They're not a very good football team, but they're going to play you hard every single game. As John McCann has these guys playing really hard, especially that defense. I think they're gonna limit that Ravens offense a little bit. And the way the Cardinals play defense, it's a little, it plays a little better against the way the Ravens play offense. So I'm going to take the Ravens 23-16, although I think it's going to be a close game and it could be a trap game. This could be an upset alert game, but I do think that the Ravens will find a way to come out on top in this one. But hey, we'll see. You never know. As we've seen, the Ravens absolutely demolished the Lions. But yeah, I still think the Ravens will be fine. It is a trap game. They might be going in this game overlooking the Cardinals, but taking the Ravens 23-16. I'm pretty confident, but expect this game to be a lot closer than a lot of people expect it to be. All right, next up, you have the Los Angeles Chargers and the Chicago Bears. I believe this is the Sunday night game. Should they have put maybe the Bengals and the Niners at Sunday night? I think so. I think that would have been a much better decision. But nonetheless, we have a Sunday night football game between the Chargers and the Bears. So the Chargers, I had this game a lot closer than a lot of people think. I do think this game, I can absolutely see the Chargers scoring 35+ and it not really being that close of a football game. But the Bears have been running the football pretty well. And I will say the Chargers' run defense has gotten better as the season has went on. But I think the Bears are going to want to run the football a lot. And the offensive line, they're a decent run blocking offensive line. They're horrible in pass blocking. But they should be able to run the football on the Chargers, which will limit how many possessions the Chargers get. And the Chargers defense is one of the worst in the league, so the Bears should be able to put up some points. And the Chargers offense isn't consistent, and it's not all Herbert's fault. The offensive line isn't consistent, and you do have Keenan Allen, Josh Palmer, which I do like those guys, but he doesn't really have much else. I mean, Austin Eckler, he's in and out. The offensive line is inconsistent. The defense is horrible. So maybe the Bears can score a lot more. This could be a game that the Bears do end up winning. It could be an upset game because of how bad the Chargers. The Chargers are one of those teams. Kind of like the Ravens. They could beat anyone. And, they could hang anyone. But they can hang with anyone, but they can also keep anyone in the game with them. And this can be one of those games. But I see Justin Herbert making the extra play at the end. And Tyson Bagent looked pretty good last week. But I'm taking Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers or the Chicago Bears. All right, next up, we have the mad Detroit Lions. They are mad. They are pissed off. They want to win this football game. They want to take it home. They want to just demolish the Raiders with everything they have inside of them after getting killed last week versus the Ravens, going into a game versus a very good football team, an inconsistent football team. Although they did lose the Steelers and the Colts, so take that for what you will. But now they're playing a football team that is not very good. They don't have a very good defense. Their offense is not very good. While the Lions are going to get after whoever the quarterback is all day long. They're going to run the football at will, nonstop. They're not going to have a hard time running the football. So I'm taking the Detroit Lions 38-13. The Lions should not have any issues against the Raiders whatsoever. Now the Raiders, you would maybe think they would have been a better football team this year, but they just aren't. They just aren't a good football team. They're one of the worst in the National Football League. They can barely score any points. They can barely play any defense, and you combine those two things together, you're playing one of the better teams in the league. Be prepared. Raiders fans, close your eyes. It's probably going to be a long day. It's a horrible matchup. The Lions are miles day and night better. Next up, New York Giants and the New York Jets. Battle of the New York teams, in quotations, as they're really in New Jersey, but it is what it is. The true New York team are the Buffalo Bills. But putting that aside, this may be a bit of a bold prediction. I am picking the Giants because this is going to be a defensive game all around. I would not be shocked if neither of these teams get into double-digit points. Both of these defenses are playing really well right now. The Giants are playing like they are playing so well, and you're playing as Zach Wilson. Wink Martindale is gonna want to mix things up like crazy. Going to want to make it very difficult on Zach Wilson to read the defense. Robert Saleh, he's a good coach. And, he has a good system put in place over there. And, Nathaniel Hackett, I like him as an offensive coordinator. But as we saw the last couple of weeks, the Giants have really put up some really good fights against the Bills. They put up some really good fights. So it could be a long night for the Jets offense. And I think the difference in this game is going to be a defensive touchdown. Yes, sir. I'm predicting the only touchdown in this football game. I'm predicting like 3 field goals. Maybe one of these teams score a touchdown, and then one of these defenses forces safety. But I'm predicting a defense. I'm predicting the only touchdown in this game to be a defensive touchdown, and with the New York Giants winning 16-19. When you're a very defensive team like the Jets, when you play a lot of defense and you can't really play any offense, you could beat anyone, but then you could lose anyone. It's just how the game rolls, and then you could run the football pretty well. But this Giants defense has come alive the past couple of weeks, and I think that Giants defense is going to be the difference in this game. So I'm taking the New York Giants 16-9. Now Tyrod Taylor, he's not great. Is he going to be playing this game? I think he's probably going to be playing. I don't know, but I think Tyrod Taylor's playing this game. Whether it's Daniel Jones or Tyrod Taylor, I'll still have this game down at with little to no points being scored. It's going to be a really low scoring game. But I'm taking the New York, but who the heck knows? The Browns and the Colts last week were, no one thought that they would have put up almost 80 points, but I don't really see that in this game. I don't see it whatsoever. There's no way. If they go over 77 points, no, if these two teams both go over 20 points, I will do a mini giveaway. If both of these teams go over 20 points. So that's all really, that's all I got for my week 7 or for my week 8 picks. Predictions, score predictions, give you my analysis on every single game, my thoughts, who I think is going to win, and That's all I got. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this week's weekly picks predictions episode. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, put the post notification bell on so when saying future videos. We do this every single week. We do power ranks, we do predictions, we do it all every single week. Great place to be. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. We do have a former NFL scout coming on the show pretty soon, so watch out for that. We'll be during the Colts bye week, but hey, it's going to be pretty fun. But that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for tuning in to the JW Sports Talk Show. Where fans, welcome. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, put the post notification bell on so you don't miss any future videos. Or if you're over on Rumble, follow, drop a like, stick around over on Rumble. I'm posting this to a couple social media platforms, so stick around. Great place to be. Join the Discord. Great community. Great people in there. That's what I got for you guys today. This is JW Sports Talk Show. Signing off.